Hi, in this video I want to give you an update on the newest features in the LangChain and LangGraph ecosystem that came with version 1.1 and version 1.2. So for this video I assume you're already familiar with LangChain on a deeper level, like from watching my crash course on YouTube or taking my full courses on Udemy. If not, you can currently get them at a discount and you would really support me and my channel with that. So thank you very much. Let's jump straight into the code. As always, you will get the link in the description. Okay, I'm now in VS Code and here on the left you can see the LangChain LangGraph IPython notebook. So here is everything included that you need. So to be able to work with that, you first have to create a virtual environment with uv-venv and then just run uv-sync. This will automatically install everything in that environment and now you can use it in the Jupyter notebook. Just use the selected environment and we are good to go. Okay, so for this video we want to have a little bit of a dummy use case. So we have a Italian restaurant with a chatbot where a user can order food and can get the price of a specific food. For this we've got a fake database, so just a plain dictionary, and two tools which allow us to get the prices or allow us to get an order for a specific item. We also create a customer model where the customer has got a name, an address and an order history, which is initially an empty list. Then we create a dummy customer, in this case Mario Rossi, and this lives at Via Roma 1 Napoli. We also use an in-memory saver, so this allows us to get a history, a chat history with a user. And yeah, that's it. That's our dummy setup. And now we can take a look at the new features. So the first one is model profiles. With the new profile attribute of an LLM instance, we can get a lot of information about the model that we use, in this case GPT-4o Mini. We can see what is the maximum of input tokens, the maximum of output tokens, if tool calling is enabled, structured outputs, and also if image inputs are allowed. So if we try that out, then we can see maximum input tokens 128k, output tokens 16k, tool calling support, structured output support. So that can be helpful as plain information, but of course you can also do a little bit more with it, which I'm gonna show you in the next part. So the next is pretty obvious. If you use multiple models, you can do something like this. So you can check if the model profile has got tool calling. If that is true, then we want to use bind tools where we will bind the tools to the LLM. Otherwise, we don't want to do that. So we don't bind tools to a model that doesn't support it. Quite simple, but very helpful. The next is we can also check if a prompt is larger than the maximum of input tokens. So we can do that before we send that long prompt to the API. You can also override the profile if you want, like this with init chat model, and here you pass a dictionary, in this case maximum input tokens 100k. So this works, but I have to be honest, I don't really know a use case when you want to do that, other than the OpenAI registry for the model may be wrong or something like that. But in case you need that, you know how to do it. Okay, so next I'm going to show you middleware. So middleware is a new feature from LangChain, which is now usable in combination with the create agent function, which allows you to create agents based on LangGraph. So this was merged from LangGraph into the LangChain package. So what can we do? We can use create agent, pass a model, pass tools, and here we pass a third argument, which is the middleware. So in this case, we can use a predefined middleware from LangChain. So the model retry middleware, in this case, if the API is not available, we can retry 3 times and we can define an initial delay for the retry, backoff factor. In this case, it would mean first try 1 second, the second one 2 seconds, and the third one 4 seconds. So always by 2 multiplied, and the maximum delay for the API call 30 seconds. So on what errors do we want to retry? On a timeout error and on a connection error, not on every generic error. So to be honest, this will not work in a demo, of course, because the API works and I will not pull a plug off my internet. So, but in case it would not be available, you would get multiple retries. Okay, so the next is pretty cool because it combines the new profile with a middleware. So in this case, what we want is to create a summary if the history of messages gets very long. So how can we do that? We use the summarization middleware, which we import from the middleware package. And here we can define first a summary model. So we could use another model. So not only GPT-4 Mini, that's a model like the chat model, but we could use a cheaper model, for example, to create the summary. So under the hood, that middleware makes use of the profile. So here we can define a trigger argument. So if the amount of tokens in the history exceed 80% of the maximum input tokens, then this model will create a summary. But we won't put everything in the summary, so we will keep the 20 latest messages, but everything which is 21, 22 will get summarized by this model. So let's try this out. And now we can see that if we would use a long chat history, then we would get a summary. But we have to do one more thing, because this is of course not even close to the maximum amount of tokens, but we can update our profile. So that's actually a use case for this dummy. So if we exceed 200 tokens, then we want a summarization. So now we can do it again. So we'll give it a new thread ID. And now we have to wait a few seconds, because first the history will be summarized. So at the end we should get a summary of this chat history. So here we are, it worked. So here is a summary of the conversation. The user's primary goal is to inquire about the types of pizzas available. Okay, so this worked. Now let's have a look at the next middleware, which is only supported by OpenAI, because OpenAI has got a specific middleware for that. So in this case, we have to import the OpenAI moderation middleware class from LangChain, and we instantiate it like this. So in this case, we define the model omni moderation latest. We want to check for the input. We also want to check the output that the models produce. And we also want to check the results of a tool call, because they can also poison your prompt. We can also define a violation message, where in this case it's blocked, and then we've got a placeholder categories, and we want the user to keep it around pizza orders. We create an agent again and use the middleware in that function as argument. Okay, so let's try it out. So how much is a Diabola? So this should not trigger the moderation endpoint. Here we can see that is the output. And next, the text is, I will find you and hurt you. So if we try that, that is of course a threat. And here we can see blocked, and we can also get the category, which is in this case violence. So this user input will be blocked by the message that we defined here. Okay, so that was the middleware. Now let's go to another topic, which is a schema. So we get with LangChain a new schema, a new structured output, which is provider strategy. So we can only use that if a model supports structured output. So in this case, OpenAI does that, and we can use provider strategy, which means we enforce the structured output via the provider's native structured output API. In this case, this is the OpenAI strict JSON schema. So we won't do any custom parsing or tool calling for that. We will use the native schema of OpenAI for that. The strict equals true parameter means that we are enforcing a hard schema validation. So if we send the API the following, so a message with user as input, the customer, so that is the name that we gave him, orders a margarita and a Diabola. So that are the orders of that customer. So we know the name and the orders, and we can also get the total price by using tool calling. So this is what we expect as result from that call, and we can get the structured response by accessing the structured response key. So at the end we should see the summary like that. So structured output is supported, and here we can see order summary equals the customer is Mario Rossi and the items are Margarita Diabola, and total for that is $19. Just a little warning to be cautious if you use that and you type something like, hello, how are you? Then the following will happen. So sometimes you get a key error, sometimes you get a response from that. Yeah, just try it a few times. Because yeah, often enough you get something like this. So the API will try to parse it even though you don't have anything related to your schema. In this case, you get guest, items, margarita, and a total of 8.5. So this does not make any sense. So if you use structure output, you can do something like this. In this case, you can use a Boolean here. So this will be used as a classifier. And you can also give a description. That is also very helpful for the LLM. So in this case, if you do it like this, of course, I have to save it. Then you can see the order summary is the following. Order placed equals false, customized none, items are an empty list, and total is none. So this is what you want if you don't have the correct input. Okay, so let's undo these changes. And now let's go to the next part, which is event streaming. So if you want to stream with LangGraph, you could do something like this. So you could stream events, and then you could check for the event type. So in this case, it would be on chat model stream. And then you could extract the chunk like this. So from the event, you extract with the key data, and then you extract with another key chunk. And then you access the chunk, the content attribute of the chunk to get the correct message. So a lot of unpacking of different stuff. So this is the output. So you stream every token here, but with version 3, this is much easier. As you can see, this is much more than a normal for loop. So you just stream over every message, and then you access the text attribute. Nothing more to do. There's still a warning because this is a beta feature, but as you can see, much cleaner syntax, much easier to use. So if you want to use streaming and you don't need to know the specific event, then the version 3 is my new recommended way to perform streaming with LangGraph. Okay, so the next feature that we're going to have a look at is the delta channel. So what is a delta channel? Sounds quite mysterious, but it's actually quite easy. So what do we have here? This is just a dummy graph that writes a lot of stuff in a specific attribute of our initial state. So we've got our chat state, which is this type dictionary, and we append a lot of stuff to this chat log. So this delta channel is a channel type that writes only the per step diff into the checkpoint instead of re-serializing the whole growing list. And the snapshot frequency of 5 means that a full snapshot is not written every time, but is written every 5 times. So reads only have to replay a handful of deltas, but you don't have to save everything. So a real world example from LangChain was a coding agent with over 200 turns, and that agent saved over 5.3 gigabyte of snapshots. With the new delta channel, it was only around 130 megabyte, but important without any performance decrease. Okay, so let's try and execute that. So that is the result. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the difference in memory. You somehow have to believe me. So this is something that you won't directly see as output of your graph, but yeah, when you profile your code, then you will probably see it yourself. Okay, so the next topic should be a little bit more obvious, and that is per node timeout. So you can, now when you define a node in LangGraph, define a timeout, and you can also define a retry policy. So here, if you have a look at add node, then you can see new is the retry policy. Oh, there's also a cache policy. And of course here timeout. So this is very helpful if one of your nodes makes a call to an, let's say, API. So you don't have to define that globally, but you can directly bake that in your graph. So I think this is very helpful. So if you have a look at that, this is a fake node which sleeps for 5 seconds. We've got a timeout for 0.3 seconds. So in this case, we should see an error if we run it. So here we can see the node timeout error. It was raised in the bake node. We can see the run timeout, the time elapsed before the error was raised, and it was tried 2 times because we set the retry policy to max attempts of 2. Quite easy to use, very helpful. Okay, so the next functionality are node level error handlers. So you can directly define an error handler in your code. So here we define a graph. So a user can place orders, and if an error happens, the user gets compensated. So the new function is here, this function on error handler, and we will go from the current node to the compensate node with the command class. So if an error in a node gets raised and we register that handler, this will be executed. So we do it in the place orders node. Here we register the third argument, error handler, and if an error gets raised, this error handler will be executed. So in this case, we're gonna define our graph, and the first one, the first users will order Margarita and Diavola. So we've got these two pizzas, and then the other user will make a request to get a pizza Hawaii, and this will fail. So here you can see the error was raised and directly goes to the compensate node, and here we can see the result is refund issued. So when do you want to use a custom error handler in comparison to, let's say, a timeout handler? So you want to use a custom error handler if a node can fail in a way that you can try to recover from in the graph itself, like rerouting to another node instead of letting the exception kill the whole run. So that is the purpose of your custom error handler. Okay, so the last topic is quite advanced, which is a graceful shutdown. You can get that with the new run control class and the request rain function. So when do you want and why do you want a graceful shutdown? For example, normally you deploy your agent somewhere in the cloud, for example on Kubernetes, and the pods that are running often get restarted, and then if a pod gets restarted, the process gets just killed. So every intermediate work in a graph gets lost. With a graceful shutdown, you can prevent that. So this is just a simple dummy graph where we go from one node to the next. Nothing really happens here, but we only sleep for 0.4 seconds here to create that graceful shutdown. So in this case, we define an instance of run control, and we use that run control in the invoke method of our graph. So that is the way you can use it. And with this function, we want to trigger this request rain, so this graceful shutdown gets simulated. So let's try it out. The graph was stopped gracefully, and the next node that we want to execute is baked. So without a graceful shutdown, that would get lost. So everything that happens before would get lost, but in this case, we can just continue from the node that we saved. So from the checkpoint, we pass none as argument, pass our old thread object, and then we just continue with the graph and everything gets delivered. So this is a very helpful feature if you use an autoscaler to deliver your agents in the cloud. And I'm very happy to see something like that in the LangChain ecosystem, because this was definitely missing. Okay, that's it. Definitely some very cool new features. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.